welcome back to the channel. So about a little over a year ago, I put out a video that's a little outside of the norm for what I do for this channel. Normally this channel is about reviewing software that's writing related, storytelling, some books that are of interest to writers, and I eventually want to go ahead and do some videos on some fiction and things that people might just enjoy reading for fun. But I'm also a writer. I'm not just a YouTuber. I don't even really call myself a YouTuber, as I don't do enough videos to really have that title. But I still enjoy sharing, my experiences and sharing my projects and all that. And one of the things that, as a writer, is I want my characters to be out there in the world for people to experience and to learn about them. And of course, usually when you write, like, your characters, they live in the books. That's sort of the point. I just did a video a little while ago on my channel updates, and I tease that I got a book coming out soon called Hybrid City Entrepreneur that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but the point being is that that's my life, is I create characters and I create stories for those characters, and it's always my hope that people will care enough to want to explore them and their world that they're in. And one such character that I have, his name is Jimmy Knightley, or aka Power Stick Man, and this goes back to a series I wrote in high school as a comic. It's typical dumb superhero story, but it's a parody. Came out around the time that The Tick was popular, so I had that influence from The Tick. Just again, and it's a lot of snarkiness too. Like, because there was a deodorant commercial that I thought was the most ridiculous thing. The actor, well, it wasn't an actor, it was a sports star who was selling it. Was talking about vanity, and I just thought, well, this deodorant doesn't work that well. Like, what are we selling right now? It didn't make any sense to me, so I had to make fun of it. So I made a cartoon out of it, through panels, and it became like a kind of a high school obsession. It was based on a tennis player who became a superhero by falling into Nevada chemicals and kind of having a little bit of that Batman style slash Joker story. And it was originally supposed to be this kind of urban fantasy of superheroes who are in the cities. The guy goes missing and the villain takes over, and then the guy comes back and there's a war, and the whole theme is like defeating stench. It was the dumbest thing, but it was funny. I got a kick out of doing it, and the character that I created was something that I wanted to whether the story retained or not, I wanted the character to continue to live on. So I kept drawing him in the margin notes of my short stories that I would critique for my classmates and all that, and just it was one of those things where the character never really got away, even though I stopped writing the comic because it was just a lot of work and I didn't have the skill to really make it pop. But going into the early 2000s, I was also interested in making RPGs, and I found an engine that would help me do that. And so I decided, well, I want to turn the story, this comedic comic, into a game, where you can play, and of course, flesh it out a bit, make it less ridiculous and more of an adventure that it might be fun to play and actually have a story. And of course, the story was the hardest part. I'm like, I don't really know what the goal is of the character, because the story is absurd. But I thought, well, I'll figure it out. And so I made this game, and I think the consensus was, there was not much of a plot. So that was always my goal, to go back and try to give it a substantial plot, make it actually something people would want to experience beyond the jokes. And while people did have fun playing the game, and it actually established the world for the character, where he ends up being on an island. And I didn't know any of this going into the design, but it was stuff that kind of emerged in the design process. And of course, you have it's an RPG, so you have to create these characters or these creatures for the character to fight, or these villains. And so you eventually kind of organically create cities and institutions, and it just gets bigger and bigger beyond what I could ever imagine in the comic. And it's something actually to this day in 2025, I still never finished the game. I got quite far, and it's always been my dream to go back and try to get it done, and replace some of the music that I don't really have rights to, and make it maybe more ambient and all that. But the one thing that about the story that I find fascinating is I think it could turn into a novel if I take the story a little more seriously and make it less about the joke and more about a rise of a I can't call him a nobody. He's a tennis star in his normal life, but the story of a man who can't hide from a killer, essentially. That's the story. Is there's somebody stalking him, and he's a celebrity. There's no witness protection for him. He has to go figure out how to stay ahead of this person, knowing that he can't hide. Well, the whole point of the series is, well, there actually is a place he can go to kind of get his self back together. And it's an island out in the Caribbean that ends up being, he discovers after he gets there that it's kind of like a science-based island where they do a lot of these experiments, and that's kind of why all these creatures are kind of mutant-like and all that. But eventually the whole kind of short story of it is he becomes a superhero, okay? And the same superhero from the comic and the game, and the stories render him with much more motivation. The story itself actually starts having a point now, and it was sort of the thing where I thought, yeah, this is the way it needs to be told, because it's, in my opinion, the best version of it. It's a thriller. It's got a lot of suspense. It can get scary at times. It's funny too, I think. So it got all the elements. It's long. It's probably about I have to break them up because the original books are about this thick, and I do need to probably cut them down a bit to not chop up the stories, but like make them in separate editions, because I think the reason why it was so fat is because I had more than one story happening. So that was it's still readable in my opinion, but I think it's not for everyone. But it could be better paced. So that's one of my goals in the future, is to go back and kind of recut those books into smaller but more fulfilling pieces. But I'm not that stage yet. So right now the only two books that are available for public reading is the two that I have online, which I have another video that's going to show all that in a minute. Or I might have it in this one. I don't know. It might be possible that I'm putting them in the corner somewhere. But the point of that is, in developing these characters and these stories, new characters also emerge. And so in the books, and I know I put the person in the game too, but I can't remember who came first, the game, if the character showed up in the game first or the books first. But I knew I had a list of different character archetypes that I wanted to include in the series over the span of 10 books or more. And the one character that I got to that I hadn't quite filled in that list was a character named Cherry Chicklet. And so it came time to figure out what is she, who is this person? I thought, oh, I know who she is. She's the musician, she's the rock star of the island. Why not? I needed a rock star. Well, let's make her the rock star. And in the superhero world, she's also like what they call the Pied Piper. So she's like the person who leads the armies through her voice. Because she's very persuasive, put it that way. And that's kind of her role in the group of superheroes. But as the alter ego, she is the island's resident pop star / rock goddess. And in the books, I had written several of her songs. There's 2 books that are public. There's actually 4 that I've written or got close to finishing. The 4th book is still unfinished, but the 3rd book has been done for years. They just never published it because it needs a lot of editing. But yeah, and I wrote 7 songs total for the 4 books that are currently in production or are published. And that's been that way for going back to 2012, I think 2011, I think is when I wrote the 7th song. And again, over 3 albums. So, and I think I told this story in my old video. If any of you have gone back to some of my older videos from last year, I have a video based on this character, Cherry Chicklet, from a song from her title, or it's the title track of her 4th album, which I have not, as of the time, had not started doing any work or any planning for that particular album, because I was going into kind of the second half of the series when that album becomes part of the story. So I wanted to go back, and I wanted this character to actually have a discography. I wanted, I always knew that her first album had 14 songs. I knew one of them was about garden gnomes, and then of course I had the 2 that I actually rendered out in full lyrics. And that was, the first I had it for years. And then all the AI music groups started coming around, like with Suno back in 2023 and then Udio in 2024. I thought, well, I want to see if it's possible to actually listen to her songs for the first time ever. Because again, I just, I knew what I wanted them to be, but I didn't know how to get them to actually become. Because, again, that takes a lot of money and talent that I have no access to either. So it was kind of those things where it's like the fantasy lives in your head, but you don't really know what it looks like in real life. And you're always dreaming that something will come along that will let you envision that. And so, yeah, August 2023 came around, and Suno, they had their first iteration, and the song was freaking garbage. Like the singer didn't even sound like a woman. It was awful and screechy and probably tainted my view of the song that I had lived in my head for 15 years at the time. But fortunately, I kind of threw it away. But and I'll be gracious and not play it for you guys. I was tempted to, but I think in retrospect, I think I'll just save you guys the ear bleed. But although leaving me a message in the comments if you'd still like me to release that video or some form of it.
On a moonlit night, saw you from a distance, rusty sword in hand. You were sitting on the bent fence. Ocean waves were screaming, howling winds were devastating. From coastal run you ran.
So fast forward to April of 2024, Udio comes out, and I thought, well, this looks pretty good. Let me see what this is about. And I tried a couple of the other songs I did on Suno to see how it sounded. Like, yeah, this is actually really good. And then I got curious, like, I wonder what a Legend Defunct would sound like on Udio. That's the name of the first song on our first album. That's one of the few that I rendered out fully for the books. And like, yeah, it was an industrial rock song. I thought, I kind of want to hear this one. Let me, because again, the version that Suno had in its early days, it's good now, but in its early days, it just sounded like, I don't know. Imagine somebody stepping on a bear trap as they're, singing a lullaby. It was just, it's terrible. But now in this case, I feel like it had, better instruments, better rhythms, and of course the right voice to pair with it. Started assembling the clips. And the thing with Udio is, it's not like you can't drop an entire song and expect an output. In my opinion, that's cheating. I mean, it's cheating to use AI anyway. And I know real musicians would probably hate that we're even bothering with this. But, some of us aren't real musicians. Some of us still want to hear our characters come to life. So, we do what we can to improvise. It's kind of the point of why we have tools like this, so we can improvise, knowing it's not the professional quality, but it's the best we've got access to at the moment. And in the case of Udio, it's you create these little clips that you generate about 32 seconds at a time. So you have to kind of structure your songs in order to fit within those clips. and then you got to audition them. You got to, because not every clip comes out sounding well, not even in context of the rest of the song. So there's, always potential for it to go all over the place. And then the technology also forgets anything that's older than 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So if you have choruses, you need to try to structure your choruses to be within that 2-minute space if you want them to be consistent. And so there's all these little strategies that you pick up on as you use the system. But in that first run, like, I just wanted to learn if whether or not it would even be a good idea. And sure enough, the Legend Defunct came out quite good. And then I thought, okay, well, that came out quite impressively. Let's try the next one, Slipping on Cheesecake. That was the other song that I had written fully out for the books, and that's supposed to be the final song in her album. And of course, it ends up, it's the second one I wrote for the album, but it's the technically there's another one that predates all of them, but it wasn't really written to be a song. I'll talk more about that probably in a commentary video down the road. But those two, A Legend Defunct and Slipping on Cheesecake, those are written for the books, and I wanted to hear them. Both were inspired by an old rock group called the Kidney Thieves. If you don't know them, look them up. They're pretty intense, but it's an industrial rock group, also female led, and just very captivating to listen to. It's one of my it's one I enjoy. So I would call them a favorite band, but it's one I enjoy listening to. And one of my favorites is Evanescence. So Evanescence has a lot of inspiration in this character as well. But kind of going to the point is that I had these two that I had for years done with that first album, and then I did 2 more for the second album, and then 3 for the third, without ever knowing what any of them sound like. And this finally gave me a chance to hear them, and because I liked what I heard, I was inspired to let's see what the rest of the album sounds like. Because again, until this point, I had never even considered what the titles were of the other songs, much less what they were about. The only thing I knew for sure was in the first album there was a song about garden gnomes, because the book references it. I know she had at least one electronic song, because there's a scene where our main character, Jimmy Knightley, meets her at this club called the Foxberry. And apparently she's got her song is on the overhead. I never named the song, I never just give any of the lyrics or anything, so it's always who knows what they're listening to. But I thought, well, at some point I have to establish what her songs are. So even in my own head, so I know what's playing on the loudspeaker. So I just thought, okay, well, I definitely need a song that's going to be appropriate for that scene. And of course, as I went through my writing process and started, putting new songs together, I started to find out what that song about garden gnomes was. It's called Ceramic Kickstarter. I didn't know that until 2024. Now I know. Now I know what it's about, and it's kind of a gothic song, and it's probably going to release, if I actually have time to edit it, I'm probably going to get it out there. I'm spoiling the surprise. I'm going to try to get it out there before Halloween. But the next one was, I thought, well, I need a song that's sort of exclusive to the island. So I had a song about some of the superheroes that went missing, because one of the plot points of the series is that all the legends went missing. Like, where do they go? No one knows. And so that was a big mystery that it's going to take a few books for them to solve it. But she has a song about that. And then I had one, it was originally just a test of this, of the technology to see like what, I think I was demonstrating it for someone at work. I'm not sure how it went. Or no, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I think I was experimenting with just random ideas. Long story short, I started writing a song about an elevator that she's a superstar who can't seem to get off the elevator. It keeps going up, keeps going down. So the song is called Elevator Ride to Nowhere. And it was probably the most catchiest thing I'd done up to that point. And I realized, I think this is the song that's playing when our main character meets her for the first time. And again, I would never know that without having just gone and experimenting with this technology. And I say all this to make a point that I've been sitting on these songs since April 2024, their first drafts, and I've gradually been editing them here and there as time goes on. I've been trying to get familiar with systems like Melodyne and the DAWs and some plugins to see if I can enhance it. And a lot of it's a learning process to go beyond just what the generation gives you, because you do want to be interactive with the song beyond your own lyrics. Because again, I'm writing the lyrics and I'm having to audition the clips that put those lyrics into sound. and making sure that I think it's catchy enough that and of quality for the character, because the character has to be fun to listen to. And if I'm not having fun listening to it, why would anybody else? But it's a project I've been going through from that point on, that I just decided, well, I'm going to certainly do the first 3 albums, because I want, now that I got through 14 songs on album 1, like I know that album 2 has 12, so let's put those together. And then it ended up being that I got to album 3 and I was going to take a break and do some editing, because those are the songs related to the books so far. And I just thought, well, but she's going to have other albums, because the series is going to go on, and I thought, well, there's going to be at least 7 albums for the entire series, so why don't I just do the whole 7? So I ended up going forward and starting to set up the 7 albums, and I thought, well, but she's got to have a post-career. She's got to go world famous at some point. So hence the 8th album, the 9th, and eventually it goes up to 15 albums as a full career, and then there might be like post-career stuff after that. And as of this recording, it's now October 8th, I think the morning of October 8th. I am halfway through the 15th album of drafts, and there's a lot of them that are just, I think, are quite good. For AI music, it's impressive what it can do. And I mean, I will never, ever admit that this stuff is better than what professionals can do. I would love to see what professionals can do with this stuff, but we're not there yet. Because that's, again, a major investment I have no access to, no resources to get there. So again, this is improvising. So one of the things about being creative, or being like any kind of creator, is you have to find ways to innovate, or to do things that are affordable and reasonable while still getting your vision out. And understanding that sometimes it won't be the perfect plan, but you got to do what you can to make it work. And this is my way of making it work, is this is what's allowing me to be able to know what the full discography is. And so anytime I need to reference the character, I bring in the culture of the day for that series. Like, I know where we are in the process, because I know what her songs are now. And I made the point about this in another video around the same time I released the Timeless concept video, that part of the reason why we do this is so we can get our imaginations sparked, and we can get inspiration, and it's a good way of supplementing our ability to see. And even like the game for the series helped me visualize what the story would look like. Or even like this book here, that again I'll talk more about in another video. This book is based on a game I made. One of the reasons why I know how the characters should be perform, and like where they are and what they're doing, is because it's already been done in the game, or it's been planned for the game. And there's some characters that aren't in the game yet, but having a canvas to build and be able to visualize really makes it easy for me to kind of sense where I am in the storytelling. Because I have a rough idea where places are when I know what they look like from the perspective of a map. So the idea is these supplemental materials that we're creating, aside from the books, really help ground us and orient us into the broader tapestry of what our characters are doing and what the scenes are doing. And so that's kind of what this whole Cherry Chicklet thing is giving some context to what the music is like in the world of modern day fantasy. But again, what's the point of music if no one's going to listen to it? So that kind of brings me to kind of the finale here, is that I wanted to share Cherry Chicklet with all of you guys, anybody, not just subscribers, but anyone who happens on the channel. And so I do have some music videos that I had put together based on the early songs that I'm going to start dropping. In fact, I've already got 3 queued up. So as of this recording, I've got a Legend Defunct going out on October 10th. I've got Caffeinated, the title song for the album, for the first album, going out on 14th. And then Elevator Ride Nowhere, which is the dance track, that's going out on the 17th. And then I'm in the process of editing the 4th song called Attention to Detail, which is a pop song about paying attention to the details. It's a fun one. And I'm going to keep going for as far as I can until the resources get a little too intense. I do have ideas for a couple of them that don't really need anything extensive, so those will be fairly simple. But the point being is that I want to ultimately not only be able to give you guys a chance to listen to and watch these videos of the 14 songs from Caffeinated, but I want to put them all together in one large track too, so you guys can stream it if you want. And I hope you guys enjoy listening to it. Remember that, again, it's a character. It's not just some chasing some AI trend. It's this character I created going back to 2008, and well, she might be older than that, but the character that is represented in the book is 2008, and these songs started in 2008, and holding on them for 16 years, and then building an entire legacy around that. It's a fascinating attempt at world building, essentially. And whether you guys like the songs or not, I still think if you're watching this channel because you're a writer and you want some ideas, like, go for it. Like go explore your technologies that are out there and see what you can do for your characters that go beyond the story that might be fun. Make a game based on your characters, or do music videos or something. Something that inspires you to keep going, but something that might potentially get you more fans. And that's kind of what I'm hoping these videos will do. Is I hope that videos will have enough interest that some of you watching them will start caring about the character and start caring about the world that she's in. Because at the end of the day, we write because we want to share. Some people write because they have a message. I write because I want to share. I write because I want you guys to have fun in the worlds that I create. And I always appreciate feedback. I know that sometimes the books don't go in the direction we want them to. That's true for the writer as well. Sometimes we end up with a brick that we didn't really set out to write, but it ends up becoming one because the story demands it. And it's just that is what it is, regardless of you do everything you can to keep it nice and concise in a 300-page book, and you end up the story demands that it goes much beyond that. And sometimes you almost want to apologize to your reader for, sorry I made such a fat book, but you kind of don't care, because but that's what the story is. That's what the story has to be. And if it's too much for you to read, there's smaller stories. I would like you to read mine. I would like you to enjoy the characters and their scenario. I would like you to explore their world, because I care about it. I would hope that others will too. But I think that these are ways that we're kind of opening the door, inviting others to check out these characters. So finally, I kind of closing on all this is, if you see these videos and you're just wondering, who's this Cherry Chicklet? Like what is this Cherry Chicklet thing? And you don't understand, why is it on my channel? Isn't this a channel about writing? Isn't this a channel about writing tools and reviews and all that? It's about a lot of things. My channel is not necessarily focused on one specific thing. It's a storytelling channel. It's about telling stories. It's the methods for doing it. It's the discussions about doing it, and sometimes it's the results of it. Sometimes I am going to share my books because that's where my passion is. And whether you guys are interested or not, I hope you are, but I'm still going to share it, because this is still at the end of the day, what's the point of writing if we're not going to share? What's the point of even exploring writing tools or new ideas if we're not going to share it? Why? What are we doing? So it would be weird of me not to share my work. After I spent years reviewing tools like AutoCrit and Scrivener and Atticus and all the things I love using, I use it to ultimately produce books and characters and ideas, and I want y'all to, if you're interested, I want to share that with you. If you're not interested, then that's cool. We can't be interested in everything. Not everything is our speed. And I know anytime that we hear AI mentioned, we bunch up oh no, not the dreaded AI. It's ugh. Come on, it's a tool. It's a tool. It's a calculator. It's what it is. How many of us do math by longhand still? It's a tool. It's fine. The musicians, the real professionals, that's their art. They're going to keep doing it, and they should keep doing it because that's what they're good at. Artists, you paint. Somebody painted that. It looks fine, right? A human hand made that, or at least the original sketch. I don't know if that's a reprint or what, but somebody made that, and they should have, because that's what they needed to do to get their ideas out. That's their expression, and no one's going to take that from them. I don't. If I want an authentic artist piece, I'm going to go get the authentic artist piece. If I'm not looking for AI, I'm not going to go get AI. But if I just need something quick, for something I'm doing to, for marketing, I'm not going to necessarily go look for who painted that picture. track them down and spend who knows how much money for something that social media might bury? Come on, that's crazy. Like, use the tools to keep it reasonable, to keep it affordable, but also learn how to use them and innovate with them. My book cover here it's a combination. On the back, it's all stock photos that I sourced from deposit photos quite a few years ago for the Kindle Vella version of the book. The coffee cup, all that. It's a kind of a. Originally, it was a white teacup but it's a vector image that somebody created and uploaded. And the thing that's nice about vector is you can change the color, you can change the angle. That's what I did for that. But it's somebody made that. That's not AI. What is AI is the background, the characters, because I needed something in the scene in order to give all this context. The $sign is a vector that I paid for. The little fist, you can't see it, it's too dark, but that's something else I paid for on vector. Some of the textures is effects that I bought on a now defunct thing called design cuts. Now it's all under the creative market, but a lot of this is the titles, all that's paid for and designed. It's a composition I created using different assets that I bought, but it also has a background that I generated because I need something to put it all together. And I don't think that's a problem. If I had the time and money, I would probably go look for someone to, make it a little more unified and give me an actual authentic piece, and I might still do that someday. I can already tell, though, the tracking on this book is very bad. No one seems to care. So it very well is, maybe a book that's dead on arrival. And if that's the case, then why would I spend the money? Why would I go through the extra effort to make something that no one's going to see? Again, there has to be a point of reason, and I know this. I wasn't really intending on a soapbox on this topic because I wanted this to be about the Cherry Chicklet character, but I feel like I have to say it because I think that there's still such a stigma about the technology that we're ready to rail against it no matter what, when we don't take a minute to think about why someone would use it. And it's, in some cases, maybe they are lazy. Sometimes it's just the only way they can get their vision on the page, so they can actually see what's happening and be able to really know what to work with. Sometimes it's because the images that are available are not ever going to achieve what we actually want the image to do. Sometimes you'll see in the music video, I just had this comment with someone at work on the elevator ride to nowhere. There's visuals happening in that video I can't duplicate without some major money and some major talent access. Like it's just insane. I can't do, that's unreasonable. I did this in a weekend using my using the technology that's available, but having some vision and telling knowing what I wanted to do, and then seeing picking the result that I thought did the best job. So there's still a lot of production skill, we'll call it that, make these things work. And of course it's going to be not comparable to the professionals, because they have like their years of service, they've got the tools, they've got the resources, and it'd be a dream come true if we all had access to that. But until then, we take what's available if we want to see our visions come to life, and there should be no shame in that. So I kind of end on that thought. I did not want this video to go long, but as usual, it's beyond what my intentions were, so I'll leave it there. But I do hope that you guys are interested in the character when those videos start dropping, and I hope that you enjoyed it enough that you want to see more of it. Again, there's going to be 15 albums that I have planned, maybe more, but 15 that I'm just not done compiling. Some really good ones too. I think Caffeine, the one I'm putting out now, is probably the weakest one, because that's the first one. It's the one that I'm just kind of getting familiar with how it all works, including songwriting. But it's fun. It's a fun project, and I want you guys to know what it is if you see it in my feed. So, and share it too if you want. I would love to get the character out there to more people. Share on social media if you want. I'm going to eventually make it downloadable on my website. I'm not ready for that yet, but at some point, I'll see if I can make the WAV files available to you guys if you want to put it on your phones. If you like it. If you don't like it, why would you do that? So those are some of the ideas that I have in my head and some of the things that are coming. So there's no surprises. There's no, or more importantly, there's no question of what is this. So that just kind of a preview here, so you know who the character is and what she's about. And I will probably do a commentary video when it's all done, so you guys can know what the inspiration was behind each song. Again, it's just for those of you who are interested in it. I know not everyone will be, and that's fine. But that's about it. I hope you guys were you enjoy this. I never know anymore like what y'all really want to hear about, but I gotta put out there what I think is interesting. Start with something I find interesting. So that's it. That's Cherry Chicklet. That's who she is when you see the character start popping up on my YouTube channel. And if you're wondering what a song canvas is, you'll find that all of the videos have something called song canvas in the title. It's kind of a merge of the streaming music backgrounds that you see. They often look like this. I don't know if you can see the grid here. When you look at those streaming videos, you'll often see some kind of animated background, or you'll see like a series of morphing backgrounds. But it's all screen art that's designed to just kind of put in the chill vibe of the song. And then of course we know what music videos are. Those are the ones that have motion and all that. And what the song canvas is supposed to be a merging of the two. It's the core sections, they look like a DVD selection menu. As you get the characters just kind of there, repeating the loop, but then you have cutscenes of action happening in the world of the song. So it's got a little bit of that. It does not have the lip syncing yet, but at some point I may do official videos that include lip syncing. So it's one of the goals. Again, it's resource heavy. We will see what's possible. So anyway, okay, that's all I want to share. So when you see it, I hope you watch it. I hope you enjoy it. So until then, have a good day. And world's crazy, but that's okay. Have a good one, guys. Thanks. Bye.